Hello, friends. It's your boy Jeff here with another video for you. Been a little while since I made one, but the good news is I'm off this coming week. So I'm hoping to get more spin time in to have enough things to show for maybe another spin zone later on. Hoping for the best, always, but that's not what this video is. This video was inspired by my friend Emma over at 8 Vinyl Low, who recently posted her 10 greatest thrift store finds. And it kind of, like I said, inspired me to do this, which is going to be the greatest estate sale that I ever went to in terms of records. And I've mentioned it in passing throughout my other videos over the years, but it just occurred to me that I never actually really talked about it and showed all the albums that I got. Because, yeah, if it's, as collectors, you know, we all, hopefully all of us are lucky enough to find that one sale that, you know, you find it's like hitting the jackpot, you know. Maybe some of us never find that sale, but hopefully if you've been collecting long enough and you go to estate sales and thrift stores and whatnot, it'll happen to you. So that's what happened to me. And it was like back in 14 or 15, something like that, or maybe 13. I don't know. It's like 6 or 7 years ago. And I still remember it as if it was yesterday. It was an estate sale. I'll just set the scene quickly. And just quick warning, this is not going to be a short video. I know I always talk about trying to keep my videos at 20 minutes or under, but I have 28 albums to show. And even if I just flip through them, I'll never make the 20-minute mark. So get a beverage, get a sandwich, maybe a snack or something if you want to hang out, because we're going to be here for a little bit. So, all right, anyway, I'll set the scene. Went to an estate sale. It was in the fall, I think. It was in like October. And I was among the first group of people there. You know, we're waiting at the door, waiting for the sale to start. And it was advertised as having a huge record collection. And one of the sale runners came out right before he opened the doors to let everyone in and gave us the lowdown. Everything, all the records were in the basement, but some of them got water damage because that basement had flooded. So everything down there was $1 each. And if we came back the next day, everything would be 50 cents each. And after going through the sale like I did, I can't imagine anything was left much on the second day. But he goes, it's going to be, you know, buyer beware as to what you find, because a lot of it could be water damaged. So with that caveat, he let everyone in, and I made it down to the basement, and sure enough, there were nothing but tables with boxes and boxes and boxes of records. And sure enough, there were several that obviously those records had seen a lot of water, because there was like maybe 5 or 6 Beatles albums I know, and I saw the Sgt. Pepper was on the end. But you know how cardboard gets wet and they stick to each other? These covers had all kind of welded together into one, and if you tried peeling them apart, the cardboard would just shred. And the records themselves were like muddy and dirty, and it was a damn shame, because you know, they were Apple label albums. So, but all that said, there were tons there that were in really nice shape, and all the stuff I got, all these albums were in mint condition. The covers not so much, but the records themselves were in amazing shape. So I'm just going to start showing. And they're really in no particular order, although I did kind of group like my favorite ones that I got out of this bunch at the end, sort of. And I got the Beatle related stuff at the end too, in case you're watching Mazzy. I don't know if you watch my videos, but you know, I got Beatles stuff for you. First up, Boomtown Rats, Mondo Bongo. This was an album of theirs, I think from the late 70s or maybe early 80s, back when Bob Geldof was in a band before he became Mr. Live Aid. All these albums were $1 a piece. The Pretenders, Learning to Crawl, their 1984 album, which I like this one just as much as their debut. It's got a lot of killer tracks on here. Just great stuff. All these albums are from like the 70s and 80s, and there's a couple from the 90s. Here's one from the 70s, Low Budget by the Kinks. This was from 1979. Just as an aside, I did see a copy of Lola there, but at the time I didn't buy it. It's one of those things, if I could go back and do it all over again, I probably would have bought just about everything I could grab. But it was still early in my collecting career, I guess you could say. So I just took the stuff that I absolutely could not resist. Here's one that's got some water damage to the cover. This is Duane Allman, an anthology. This is actually the first volume. There was a volume 2, which I also have. And you can see it's got some water damage, a little bit of mold. The back, you can see how, you know, when cardboard sticks to each other and it shreds and rips, that's kind of what happened here. But the records themselves are mint, so I'm not complaining. Not at all. Elvis Costello's first album, My Aim Is True. A lot of these I left in the shrink wrap too, because a lot of them have hype stickers and whatnot. So I left this one as is. There's even a hype sticker on the back. You don't often see that too much. And of course, whoever the previous owner was conveniently marked up the back cover with all the song titles. But be that as it may, for $1, I'll take it because the record itself is in great shape. One of my favorite albums from the 80s, featuring one of my favorite songs of all time, is Starfish by The Church. This is the album that has Under the Milky Way. I absolutely adore that song. And this is an original pressing. I think this came out in 1987, if I recall. Yes, 1987. We love The Church. From the early 70s, No Dice by Badfinger. Apple label copy featuring the mystery model that nobody seems to know who this person is. I've never been able to find out who this model is, but yeah, it's a great album cover. And a great album too, because I love Badfinger. George Thorogood and the Destroyers' first album, self-titled. We love George Thorogood. This one has got one of my, well, actually a couple of my favorite songs by him. One Bourbon, One Scotch, One Beer. Madison Blues. Great stuff from Mr. Thorogood. Love it. The very first CD, or one of the first CDs that I ever got when I got my first CD player in 1988, was the Traveling Wilburys, Volume 1. So when I saw this, I absolutely had to have it. I think just about everybody knows about the Traveling Wilburys, don't you? The supergroup kind of formed spontaneously with George Harrison, Roy Orbison, Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne, and Bob Dylan. Actually, my favorite song off this album is Tweeter and the Monkey Man, which is a Dylan composition, and it contains tons of Easter eggs for Bruce Springsteen. Just a clever little twist on the lyrics. I always liked that. Here's a great one that should be in almost every collection, The Grand Illusion by Styx. Their big album from 1977. It's a great one. Steely Dan's The Royal Scam. Got this for $1. This has Steely Dan albums are The one I'm playing at the current moment is usually my favorite because they're all so damn good. And this one has Kid Charlemagne on it, Don't Take Me Alive, The Fez, love that song, Haitian Divorce, and of course, the title track. Great, great album on ABC Records. A couple of albums were still sealed. I picked up, I think, 2 of them, and this was one. This is the Pulp Fiction soundtrack. Of course, it's not sealed any longer. I played it. But I'm a huge, huge fan of Pulp Fiction, and having the soundtrack just went naturally. So had to have that just for $1. Why not, right? Another album that I think should be in just about every collection is Neil Young's Decade. His triple album, well, it's a greatest hits album, but it also contains some songs that were never released at this point when it came out. You guys know how much I love Neil Young. And this album is killer all the way through, all 3 discs. Highly recommended. Even if you're not a huge Neil Young fan, you should have this because it contains songs from his time with Buffalo Springfield and solo. And I think Crosby, Stills, and Nash, there's a few tunes on there too when he was on Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young, I think. So, yeah, for $1, I'll take it. And one of my all-time favorite albums, probably one of my most played albums, an original pressing of Harvest by Neil Young. Wonderful stuff. The cover is textured. It's wonderful. One of my favorites from Mr. Young. The Wall by Pink Floyd. It's in here. I don't take the time to pull out to show it to you, but it had a little card that was just put in under the shrink that said Pink Floyd The Wall. But of course I saved it and kept it in there. Original pressing from 1979. Another classic original pressing, Rolling Stones, Exile on Main Street. Had to have this one as soon as I saw it. I think this was one of the first ones that I came across when I started flipping through the boxes, and I just grabbed it. Probably the last great beginning to end albums by the Stones, arguably. I know, even though this came out in 1972, and the Stones' career went on for like another 40 years, it's still going on. So, I don't know. But in any case, this is one of those rare double albums where all 4 sides are killer. There's no filler on this album. And with a lot of these albums, especially from the 70s, they came with extras, little tchotchkes or whatnot. The set of postcards that came with this album is in here. I'm not pulling all that stuff out to show. But I'm going to make an exception with this one because Houses of the Holy came with, it was sold with like this little paper sleeve over the front because the name was not on the cover. I'll just pull this out quickly and show you because this album contained 2 copies of the record. And as I was doing my Discogs project and logging all of these in, turned out this one was in the gatefold. It's the original album that came with this cover, judging by the label number. But as you can see, hopefully you can see in the light, it is beat to shit, to put it bluntly. Not really playable. So when I saw that, I was a little worried. But in the actual pocket of the album itself was a brand new copy, but it's a later pressing. So I didn't care. I will gladly take the better condition album, even if it's a later pressing over an original in this case. So yeah, it was a twofer for this one, but I kept the beat up album, as you can see. Just kept everything as is, as I got it. So, and also got Physical Graffiti from Led Zeppelin, complete with the die cut cover and all of the picture sleeves inside, as you can see here. Classic album if you like Led Zeppelin, and it's in wonderful condition. So for $1, why not? I've showed this one many times in videos past, and even spun this one like a month or two ago. No Quarter by Page and Plant, when they reunited in the 90s and toured. This is a document of that. Kind of like an unplugged set from them of Led Zeppelin hits, but not really. I mean, they're plugged in for a lot of this stuff, but I think they tried to sell this as unleaded, as you can see. But yeah, really wish I could have seen these guys on tour, but playing this album is almost as good. And for $1, why not? That's why a couple of these 90s albums for $1 is like amazing, because, vinyl was dead in the 90s. So now these next 4 are among my favorites that I got in this haul. And I'll just show them to you quickly. I basically got my Stevie Ray Vaughan collection at this haul. Texas Flood, Couldn't Stand the Weather, Soul to Soul, and Stevie Ray Vaughan Greatest Hits, which featured a cover of Taxman, the Beatles' Taxman. Yeah, so I don't know how these were still there when I found them, because there were people everywhere all over that basement. But this was one of those, again, it was like with the Rolling Stones. I just grabbed, and I'm almost kind of looking around, hoping nobody sees me. It's not like I'm stealing them, but it's, I was that excited. Okay, now these last 5 are Beatle related, for those of you who are into that sort of thing. 2 Versions by John and Yoko. Yes, this comes out of the paper sleeve. I'm not taking it out of the paper sleeve because I don't want to see them naked, and I'm certainly not going to show them in this video naked. So I played this once. Enough said. I'm not really going to play it ever again, but I'm keeping it because Plastic Ono Band by John Lennon, his first solo album. I know the 50th anniversary super deluxe fancy set has just been released, but I will stick with my OG pressing. Actually, this is a German pressing. I didn't find that out till years later, like I said, when I was logging these albums on my Discogs. And I wasn't coming up with anything like in the US or even UK, so had to do a little more research on this, but it is a German original pressing. And then I got Paul McCartney's first album, McCartney. This is also an Apple label original. Cover, like I said, is beat to hell, but the record itself is in great shape. Not a huge fan of this album. I mean, it has 1 or 2 classic tracks, but people kind of like reassess this album, I think, after 50 years, since it's 50 years old too. And to me, it's not his best, but it's okay. It's okay, because basically anything that Paul does, he's going to have at least a couple of good songs on, right? Then I found a White Album. I had a 80s repress copy of the White Album, which I still do. But when I saw this and I saw the Apple labels, I just grabbed it. And like I said, for $1, why not? But it turns out this is I think it's a second pressing, and it's Canadian. even though it's still Apple label. It was very hard to find something that came close to matching the label number or the dead wax numbers. So after a lot of digging, and because Beatles albums are a bitch to log on Discogs, because every album was pressed, hundreds and hundreds of times. So it took a long time for me to get through the Beatles stuff. But this has, the 4 pictures of the Beatles in it. Again, it looks like this saw a little bit of damage with water. It's not a top loader the way the originals were, or like the original UK was, but both seams are split on the top, so I just kind of use that to pull the record out and leave everything in the sleeve to hold it all together, because it's kind of in delicate shape. But it has the it doesn't have any numbers on the cover, but it is embossed, where it says the Beatles. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that. Probably not. A little bit there. So I just went with that. And then last but not least, I've shown this one in videos past, and it's been really handy as far as contest entries go. This was the other sealed album that I got. Original pressing from 1997 of Flaming Pie by Paul McCartney. No longer sealed. I did play this, and mint condition still, of course. A lot of people love this album. Again, I like it. It's not my absolute favorite, but it's good, And before it was reissued, this was also reissued as part of the McCartney Archive series, or whatever it's called, in a super duper deluxe edition. So it probably knocked the value of this one down a little, but for several years, this was, probably the most valuable out of this entire bunch of albums that I picked up. Not that I'm going to sell it, because I'm not, but yeah, this was just one of those lucky things. And it was the fact that it was sealed was really why I grabbed it, because again, vinyl in the 90s, especially the mid to late 90s, is really rare. So this was a rare lucky find for me. So there you go. 28 albums, $28. Money well spent. I would do that again in a heartbeat, as I'm sure any of us would. I should have got more, as looking back, always thinking I should have made more than like 2 passes through everything, but I just when it's so crowded and there's so many people there, it was kind of hard to move around. I was getting a little pissy, because I'm trying to look around people and fight my way in at the boxes. So, but all in all, it was a pretty good haul. I'm pretty happy with it. Obviously, I still remember it from several years later, and just wanted to share it all with you. So I don't know if this is a thread or anything that we can start, but if you want to mention some of your greatest estate sale finds in the comments, feel free. I would love to see them. And I'm hoping to go to an estate sale again this year. I haven't been in well over a year because of COVID. So I'm hoping maybe this summer to finally start breaking loose and go to estate sales again, because it's fun. And like I said, some of my greatest finds have been at estate sales, and this was the greatest of them all. So yeah. So if you made it here to the end, thank you for watching. And yeah, I'll see you guys again soon. Peace. Take care.